Here she is. Hopefully the paintwork's still good. The question is, do I try and start it up or not? I'm not sure that's a good idea. See, we'll have a look under the engine bay and see what it's looking like. Oh dear. Look at that. First decision I've ever made. Oh, here we go. Safe to start. So I've got the hazards flashing. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So this video, as you can see, it might look a little bit different to where I'm normally stood. Where we are today is my parents' back garden, and this is where Auto Talk began in 2007. So the reason we're here is because I've got a car still stored in the garage, but this building, I'll show you around actually, you can have a look, but this is where I started, 2007, in the shed, purpose built. Me and my dad built it, and I worked from here for 3 years. So this is where it all began. That's in a little village just in Buckinghamshire, not far from where we are now. Luckily enough, we had access from the road, so it meant I could get cars into the back garden basically. And then this is the door. So it's been here. Well, I haven't been in here for 12 years or so. So my dad's basically using it as a bit of storage. I've had a car in there, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And yeah, you know what sheds are like when you start putting stuff in, builds up, and then yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. So the car is sort of covered. We're going to pull the car out. I'm going to show you what it is, and then it's going to go to the workshop for a project. So let's go and have a look. So here we are. This is it. Can you guess what it is? Any guesses? You might sort of tell from this bonnet scoop. There's a bit of a giveaway on the floor mat on the window. But this is obviously my background's Mitsubishi Evo, so I have got a few Evos, and this is one of them. I bought this car 6 years ago, I think. We'll have a look at the logbook when we're back in the office, but I think I've had it 6 years, and I've never driven it. The car came to me driving, needed some work, and basically as soon as I got it, I started stripping it, and first job was a full respray. So this car is a 2000 year Mitsubishi Evo 6 Tommi Makinen, and it is in white. So yeah, the car needs some work. I knew that when I bought it. I can go into the story of the car later on, but basically we're over here today to get the car out of the shed, on the trailer, and back over to Auto Talk, because it's going to need a little bit of work underneath. It's a very solid car when I bought it. It's been in here probably, yeah, like I say, 5 years. I haven't looked at it since, so I'm skeptical of what it's going to be like, but it's inside, it's dry, there's no moisture in here, which is good, and I'm hoping it's just going to be a matter of surface rust, giving it a good clean up and like a restoration basically. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll unravel the car, get it out, and we'll load it onto the trailer. Here she is. Hopefully the paintwork's still good after the respray. You haven't been out in it, Ben, have you? You haven't been driving it?
I went to London last Saturday in it. Oh.
Question is, do I try and start it up or not? So we did this. It came out of the when I bought it, I took it straight to the workshop, and we did a cam belt on it because there's no service history of it. Since then, it's like I say, it's been to the body shop, full respray, and it's been sat since. So it's probably 5 years, and these are due a cam out every 5 years. So the key hasn't been turned since. So I'm wondering whether or not to try and fire it up and drive it onto the trailer, but I'm not sure that's a good idea. So we'll probably winch it. If it's a customer's car, I'd say no. Let's just take it on the winch, put it on the trailer, and have a look at it in the workshop. So that's probably the sensible thing to do. I just want to know if it runs still. I just want to hear it, but we'll see. We'll have a look under the engine bay and see what it's looking like. Oh dear. Look at that. It's still a bit dusty, I think, from the body shop. So yeah, it's looking like it needs some TLC for sure. It certainly needs the old rocker cover painting. Bit of aluminium corrosion, but it's dry. There's no moisture about, which is good. So, well, when we get it up on the ramp, that will tell if it's still in good nick. But it was a really solid car, and I'm hoping it is. I'm confident. Oh, look at that! Lucky we didn't leave the handbrake on, eh? She rolls. It's a good sign. Yeah. Just popped the boot, and now it's bringing back memories. This is all the trim from the when it came off from the body shop. So we got like bonnet grills, battery trays, headlights. There's actually a sticker kit in here for the the Tommi Makinen stripes. But what I have found, it came with the car. The problem is, when I did actually look at these, they're for a silver Tommi Mac, so they're no good for this car. So meanwhile, I have bought a sticker kit for it for the right car, for the right colour. So I've got one of those at work. Bit of trim in there, and if you come around here, one thing I did do in the background when I was, in the moment when I first got the car, was get the door cards retrimmed, because they all go really saggy, and all the material comes off the door cards. So that was something I did do. Nice Alcantara retrim on the door cards, and the respray. That's what we've got so far. Actually, come around this side. I've just brought back some memories. This car that you can see on the floor there is a clutch, and that was actually what this car needed. I've just reminded myself. I saw that, and this one needed a clutch actually. So this car has had a new clutch put in it at the workshop and a cam belt. That's what we did back in 2016, I think, 2017 maybe. But yeah, it was. It's bringing back a few memories now. The sort of arches are in there, all painted. We've got all the body panels you saw us just take out. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave all the body panels here. I'm going to fill my dad's shed up again, so he can't get a car in there himself, so I won't have a space to put it back when it's finished. But I'm going to basically leave all the big body panels here, so they're out of the way, and then we just concentrate on the underside of the car. So yeah, let's get it loaded up. Yeah, it's a bit slow, isn't it? It's a bit dead.
The indicator's on.
Is it?
Yeah, left one. Or hazards or something.
Yeah, I'll turn the ignition off. There's life in the old girl yet. Oh. Hazards on?
You gone?
I don't know when the hazards are.
Window gone.
Hang on. I don't know. Oh, maybe that's the alarm.
Yeah, you got that thing to go on the dash.
Immobiliser. Oh, we've got a passenger window. Driver's window. Inoperative. Right. We'll just have to go with one window open, mate. Bit of a rock.
Keep it straight a minute. Keep it straight. That's it. Now you turn it. Watch that post and door. Come this way.
Hopefully this will be the last time I'm pushing it. There we go. That is a big step forward for this car. As I said, it's been sat for so long. Today is a big day. Getting it back to the workshop. At least when it's over in the workshop, I've got half a chance of getting it worked on. So we've actually had a bit of a delay on another job in the workshop. So we've had a big restoration that's just been put on hold. We recently finished the blue R34, which you probably saw. So that one's done, and we had another car lined up after that, but the customer's still just making some decisions on what we're going to do with it and how we're going to do it. So got about a month in the diary now. We've got probably 4 weeks from today where we've had a bit of a void in the diary, which is a great excuse to get my own car worked on, because as you can see, I've had it 6 years and not done anything to it. So this is my car's take a bit of a second place and go to the back burner, which is understandable. It's customers always first. So yeah, big day for this car. It's going in the workshop and it'll be in there for, like I say, 4 weeks. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically start with the underside. The car will need like engine out and everything else, but I want to basically get it in the workshop, pre-commission it almost. So we've got to check out the engine, check the cam belt, oils, fluids, get the car fired up as well. As you can see, some of the interior is out of it from the respray, so I want to get that all fixed up, refurbish the underside, put all the body panels on, so it's a complete car, and then get it basically up and running and actually try and use it before the summer's out, which is not very long. I think well, I've got 4 weeks of it in the workshop, so after that it's a bit of a job, but I'm going to be on a mission for 4 weeks and see how we get on. But we'll update the video. We'll obviously keep probably a little series of this going on along the way, and Sorry, we're stood in the middle of the road. Let's go on the grass. Probably not the best place to stand. But yeah, basically I want to do a little series of the car, so on and off throughout the restoration of it. We'll break it into sections, but the first job's going to be the underside, so yeah, let's get it back to the workshop and then we'll see how bad it is. Okay, so now we are back at Auto Talk. We've got the car on the ramp, it's up in the air, and we've had a look under it. So this is the first time I've seen it on the ramp for a good 4 or 5 years, I believe. Have a look. It is a little bit brown, should be white. A lot of spider webs. Someone's made a home for themselves up there. But yeah, I mean, it's basically what I was expecting. A bit of surface rust. Probably a little bit more actually than I was imagining, but the main thing is the chassis is solid. So for example, the common chassis legs, you can see they're not rotten, they're not holed. This area here is very solid. That normally blisters out from the inside, causing problems. Same as that side, it's solid basically. Stuff like this always sees the worst of it. Exhaust, anti-roll bars, you can see how crusty that is. You know, it's just paint taken off. Steel components, they're going to rust and they do take the brunt of it, but overall aluminium's got oxidization on it, but that's really easy to fix. That's what the blasting cabinets, you know, the wet and dry blasters, that brings all up like new. So yeah, not overly concerned about that. Fuel tank again, it's just surface rust, just age really. So it's been like you've seen, it's been dry stored, so it hasn't had a bad time overall. So what we're doing, we've just inspected the car with the technician and making a plan of what we're going to do to it. So the idea for this car, it's not like we're going like show spec, like give it the real wow factor. What we're doing is taking it back how it would have come out of the factory. So we're just been cleaning up sections of the car, seeing what the original colours were. Because it's a white car, I thought it was going to be white underneath, but what it is actually when the bodies get painted in the factory, it's just overspray. So there is a section where it is whiter near the outside edges, and then it just blends in. And we've just cleaned a little section off up here. I don't know if you can see that, but that's the actual original colour of the underside of the car. So we're going to be painting it that colour and do the same effect with the overspray of the white. And then, if you can see, it's a little bit grubby at the minute, but there is like sections of under seal. You can see we've cleaned that section off there. It's like a beigey colour, not actually white. So we're going to replicate that original colour, original sort of areas where it was under sealed. I don't know really why they did it in sections. It wasn't very good long term, because that's why these cars do rot, because it wasn't the whole underbody. But anyway, we're going to go back to original. That's the idea of this car. I don't want it blingy. I don't want it, you know, like shiny, because everything was sort of satin out of the factory, like all this cross member, subframe, north-south bar, it was all like a satin black. We have done them in the past gloss black, which looked lovely. I'm not denying that, but it just wasn't how it came out of the factory. So yeah, the goal is to get this back to looking like new without it looking like it's been worked on, if that makes sense. So yeah, we've got our work cut out. The initial stage of this job is going to be working from the back up to the engine bay. We're not going to take the engine out. We're going to drop the front subframe, all the suspension components, arms, drive shafts, exhaust, and basically draw a line there for this moment, for this part of the project. Transfer box, gearbox, that's all going to stay. It's not particularly pretty, but what we need to do is take the engine out and do a full engine bay, engine and gearbox as well. But that's we basically haven't got a timescale for that on this sit-in. Like I said, we've got 4 weeks, so we're going to make the most of that 4 weeks and just concentrate on the underside of the body. Do all the, you know, brake calipers, backing plates, hubs, the usual stuff really. So I'm going to draw up a job sheet in the office and going to go through the project with the boys. Two technicians are going to be working on this, and Elliot and Liam, and it's going to be solid 4 weeks work, and basically see how far we can get in that 4 week time slot we've got. So be interesting to see. We're going to keep you updated along the way. We're going to be putting out regular updates of this video on this car. So yeah, I think we'll probably get in this video, what you'll see next is the boys stripping the car, and then we'll be making a plan of how we're going to actually do it. I think we'll have one technician on the body and then one technician on the parts in the paint shop restoring the components. So yeah, you'll see all that in a minute. So we've decided to get it running in the workshop before we strip it, because there's always that unknown. If you do all this work, I know we're not really touching the engine, but it'd be nice to know if it works before we take it apart. So Elliot, let's have a look over it. Does it look right, Elliot? You've taken the cam belt cover off of it.
Yeah, you can have it.
There's a cam belt on there.
For yourself, yeah. There's one on there.
Still got the writing on it. That's a genuine Mitsubishi one, isn't it?
Crazy.
So I'm wondering, we're trying to work out if we actually did this. I thought we did the clutch and the cam belt, but we normally fit Gates belts. I've personally never ever bought a Mitsubishi one, so I just want to hear it running. Belt's on, it's got fluid in it, oil levels up, so let's give it a crank.
Crank
Give it a crank.
Crank
It's going to be the worst decision I've ever made.
I don't know. Get some oil pressure.
Hang on, we've got a immobiliser light flashing. Get that out.
The injectors are out, unplugged. Just in case
Oh
you
right,
think.
oh okay.
Yeah.
So I'll be explaining. Here we go. That's it, the oil light went out, so we're just getting oil pressure up. So we crank it without the injectors plugged in, so there's no fuel going in it, so it wouldn't have started. So the oil light went out, so that means we have oil pressure. Safe to start. So I've got the hazards flashing, which I'm wondering if that's the alarm.
What a 5-year-old fuel.
Or the 5-year-old fuel, yeah. Right, let's try that. I'm not sure how to work this alarm, but... She's purring. Right, so we're back in the workshop, end of day one. The guys have been working on it since probably 10 o'clock this morning. It's now about 5 o'clock, so yeah, we've had a good 6-7 hours on it. Stripping it down initially, so what we've done is removed the subframes, all the suspension arms, and as you can see on the floor, there's a pile of rusty components. Exhaust came off in one piece. It is looking a little bit corroded. The exhaust is probably the first thing that does rust with all the joints and flanges you can see there. This is a original Tommi Makinen exhaust, which you cannot buy brand new anymore. You can't buy a lot of these parts brand new anymore, so hopefully we'll be able to salvage this. We're going to look into refurbishing it once we pull it apart, see how it comes apart, the flanges and the bolts, but we'd really like to try and salvage that, because we are going for the original OEM standard finish on the car, so I didn't really want to put an aftermarket exhaust on it if I could help it. Over here we've dropped the whole rear diff, drive shaft, subframe all in one go. Again, nothing too frightening really. Even the bushes look quite good, they're not split, not perished. But yeah, they may need a refresh once we've sort of started blasting everything. We'll see how they look when they're cleaned up. AYC lines, they're particularly good actually. Clean them up, still got the original colouring. Standard stuff really, just a bit of steel corrosion on there. Easy fix. All the corners have come off, so you can see the hubs down here. What we'll do is we'll take all the arms off the hubs, strip the wheel bearing out of the hub, and then we can completely refurbish each corner. And round the front, left the engine hanging. Front subframe's over there, but that just comes out pretty straightforward. The guys said all the bolts came out nicely, there's nothing sheared, nothing broken as of yet. So yeah, it's not like it's really rusty, it's just like I say, surface rust. So it is going to be a light refurb. I'm not going into any metal work, which is nice, and they haven't discovered anything frightening yet. So all in all, good day's work. Got the car in, got the car on the ramp, and started stripping it. So it's just going to be tomorrow another day stripping it down, and then we're going to plan what parts we're going to tackle first and how we're going to go about the actual refurb. But having conversations about the engine now. The guys are quite keen to take the engine out while it's in and do the engine bay as well, which will probably make sense. So we're going to have a discussion about that. But refurbishing an engine, gearbox, transfer box, that's a whole nother job really. So which it needs doing, I know it needs doing. It's just I was basically trying not to clog the workshop up too long with my own car. But as it stands, we've got a little spell free on the restorations while we're waiting for customers' cars to start. So it's the perfect opportunity to crack on with it. So. Okay, so we are now on day 3 of the strip down on the Tommi Makinen restoration job. As you can see from last time you saw underneath it, now all of the running gear, all the suspension components, subframes are off the car. So we're literally left with brake lines, fuel lines, which are going to come off now. So yeah, nothing really to report on the underside from last time. We know what condition it's in, we know what we've got to do. We've been looking at colour samples. If you just look up here, this is the original colour that they paint the shell from factory. So we've got a colour match for that now. A lot of overspray happens on this when the car gets painted. So basically what happens is the floor of the car gets painted that colour, and then the body gets painted, and then they flick a lot of it's basically white overspray on this particular car because it's white. And that's what makes it give it that finish. So we're going to go for that finish. We're not going to go for a nice glossy, painted finish like that. It will look like this originally as it did. So that's going to be a bit of a process, a bit of an art to get that right. But we've got a very good painter here, Elliot, who's over there. He's doing all the homework on the car now to work out what exactly we need, products and colours. So yes, I think whilst the guys were stripping it, my plan was, as I said before, was a 4-week slot to do the underside and then shelve it, do the engine bay and a sit-in, because basically I didn't want to block the workshop up too much with my own car. But we've had to think about it, and what we're going to do now is take the engine out, or what we have already done is taken the engine out. So there was a conversation last night which way to do it, and it's going to be more time efficient, and we're going to make a better job of it by actually going into the engine bay whilst we're painting the underside. So what we'll do is instead of masking a line and drawing a stop here, we're going to basically strip the whole engine bay, take everything out, so we can do the job in one, which in theory, like I say, it's going to make it more time efficient, long term, and a nicer job, nicer finish. So yeah, the job's my initial 4-week plan is now spiraled, which happens. So there's the engine. What we normally do on these engines is we strip all the ancillaries off. So we take all the pumps off, like the aircon, the power steering, all the pulleys, alternator, that sort of stuff off. We'll refurbish those separately. We'll take the turbo off, manifold at the front, inlet manifold on the back, and then obviously the transmission, the gearbox, transfer box, and we'll be left with a head and block. So that gives us an opportunity to clean up the block, clean up the head. We'll obviously do rocker cover painting, and then we'll refurbish all the components. So that is a whole nother job in itself, as you can imagine. Very time consuming, very intricate, a lot of parts on there. It's that job is almost as big as doing the underside, to be honest. So yeah, we've gone from one size job to a whole nother scale, but that's what that's the end goal for the car anyway. And then it gives us the opportunity to paint this is like the front panel where the radiator sits. It's very common. These actually rot out a lot on a lot of cars, but it's actually in good condition. So the outcome of what we've found so far is the car's solid, and it is very, very good. So it's almost the perfect car to restore. There's a lot of surface rust, but there's nothing integral to it, and the floor pan's straight. It's not got any horrible jacking marks. If you have a look at the sills, they're as straight as an arrow. There's luckily no one's damaged those by jacking it over its lifetime. And these as well, these sort of sections get damaged as well from jacks, but yeah, it's all looking pretty fresh. So yeah, nothing too worrying underneath. It's pretty straightforward stuff really. It's just time, just needs time, and these restos, as we know, take time. So what we're doing here is just getting together a load of bolts. This particular box is all the nuts and bolts from the underside of the car, and then we're splitting it into sections. There's not a lot in there at the minute, but that's for the engine bay. So we'll send them off to zinc coat in 2 separate sections and get those done. We're going to concentrate on the underside first. We're going to put the engine in the engine bay room, and then when get the body done, and then we'll come back to the engine once we're into that side of the job. But as you can see, this is the racking, all the parts that come off the car, and it's just working out what's best for the car really in terms of dampers. So these original dampers, they're not rotten by any means, but they're just rusty, and I've got to make a decision, which I do when we're doing customs cars, is what is the best route, most cost effective, or I mean, like I say, you can't buy these original black Evo 6 dampers, but what a lot of people do and what is not frowned upon is to actually upgrade them to the Bilsteins, which come on the Evo 8 MRs and the 9s. It's totally acceptable. It's pretty much OEM anyway on the later cars. Might not be particularly for this car, but what it's doing is you're getting a brand new part which is better than the original, and it's probably going to work out cheaper than refurbishing it. So that's the route we're going to go on the dampers, I think. Calipers again, typical discoloration, they all go pink over time. Brake fluid goes on them, heat cycles. Again, really straightforward. Basically we send those calipers off to get refurbished, so all the bushes, all the rubber seals get replaced, pistons get cleaned, and then they get powder coated, and then new decals on it. So yeah, pretty straightforward. We've gone through all the suspension arms up there. They're all in good condition. The bushes and the joints are good, but it's just like the rubbers. You can just see they get really, really perished. And obviously we don't want that going back on the car, so it's going to be a case of either finding new rubber boots, which is quite hard. We've got the joints, but they don't come with the same colour boots, which is a bit annoying, because it'd be easy just to replace the joint with a new bush, with a new joint and rubber, but the rubbers are actually blue. And if we're going for that OEM look, we don't want blue rubbers on a car that should have black ones. So we've got to be careful what we do with the car, because we want it right. So yeah, there's a whole mountain of parts there. So they will get done separately to the underside. Obviously we'll probably get one guy on the parts, one guy on the underside, just to make the flow of the work better. There's a couple of bits down here. We've got transfer box, prop shaft, AYC pump and rear diff. Again, aluminium, surface corrosion, nothing horrendous, all stuff we're used to. And this is the exhaust I was talking about. So this is the original exhaust for the car. You can't buy them. I didn't really want to go aftermarket, so we're going to try, well, we've already started splitting it, but with exhaust studs, as you can see, they've snapped. They need removing. But it is solid and there's no blows in it. The flanges are all quite good, so we're going to blast it, see what it comes out like, and hopefully be able to refurbish the exhaust. So I think that's it for now. So we'll carry on with the guys. They'll start stripping, and then we'll start prepping the underside very shortly, so I'll leave them to it.
Okay, so we're back under the Evo, the TME. With this job we're going as OEM as possible, which is perfect for me. That's my taste, so well happy about that. So to start with, we obviously strip the underside, take all the components off, assess the situation, and the car is very dry. There's no rot, no welding needed, no damage either really. And so first port of call is to clean all the grime, the dirt off, and see what we're sort of dealing with. Split, I guess you compare it to sort of a bit of like car archaeology, seeing what's going on, what's original, what's not. And so far, totally original. On the factory underseal, like as an example here, you can see the white overspray and it graduates to the yellow of the underseal. So when they paint the outside of the car, where they paint the seals, you'll get a wash of white overspray, which will give you an overspray pattern on the floor pan. So you can see here, you've got real yellow underseal, whereas it's quite white here. So just discovering things like that, we'll try and recreate that as best we can, to keep it as OEM and as original as possible really. Yeah. What is the typical full safety gear in the workshop, please? Excuse me, cameraman. I need mid fenders, steel toe caps. Where are they? Goggles. Give me goggles, mate. Goggles, no goggles.
Okay, this is, I've lost count of days, I don't know what day we're on now, but we're getting well into the strip down. We're prepping the underside now, so the boys have been on it. I think today is the first day of actually prepping it, so it's all been stripped as you saw previously, and today they have been at it with the wire wheels, sanding discs and grinders. So the surface rust is coming off. As you can see, it's going back to bare metal. Let's just quickly go under the car before they start grinding again. As you can see, we've just done like taking the paint off. This was where a lot of the brown surface rust was. That's the initial process. This isn't the finished product yet. It's just work in progress. So as you can see, this section here above the fuel tank, very clean. It's always clean, regardless of how rusty the cars are. They're always pretty good under there. So we're going to actually just key up some of the middle section of this. It's quite tidy. There's no rust. Take out all the rust around the edges, but there's certain areas we won't really need to touch. We'll just, like I say, key it up for paint. I've just asked the guys if there's any damage or anything they've come across, and there's just a small section on this rear floor. It's just ever so slightly dented. If you look at it compared to this corner, it's quite flat. So that's obviously just a little bit of jacking damage. Hasn't split the seams or anything, and it's not holed or anything. So we'll be able to knock that out from the inside. Out, so that'll be an easy repair. And yeah, we've taken off the thicker under seal. That's all come off, been grinded. So there's just sections of rust now just to deal with. You saw in one of the last clips the engine was coming out, so the engine's obviously out now. We've taken all of the ancillaries off the bulkhead, brakes, servos, ABS pump, steering racks, servos, that sort of stuff. We've actually given the engine bay a good clean up. Just with a bit of light product just to clean the paint, to try and identify the colour of it. We're going to go back to the original colour, but engine bays always look a bit duller, a bit creamier than the actual outside of the car. But it has been identified that the paint is the same code as the outside of the car, so we're just going to paint it a bright, glossy white to match the outside. Bit of rust work needs to prep in, especially under here. This is a real commonplace. Bottom of that brace, tow hook. So yeah, the next stage is basically we're prepping all the underside now and the engine bay ready for paint. So we're going to get all of the prep work out of the way before we touch anything with the paint, which is the obvious route to go. So I think the next step is really carrying on with this. We're going to be grinding back all the rust, and then we're going to attack the arches. There's certain sections from factory where there's quite thick under seal in there. We're going to start peeling that off around the edges and seeing what's under it. And to be honest, it's going to be really clean under there, so we might not take all of that off because it's not necessary, and it's a bit of extra protection to leave there before we re-under seal it and paint it. So yeah, we've got probably another day or so prep work underneath, and then we're going to get all the paint ordered, colour matched, and then paint it. So that'll be an exciting part. That'll be a big visual impact of the project, because it will be obviously going from surface rusty brown colour to a nice white engine bay, and then we're going to go for the grey sort of primer colour underneath with the white blow-in and the underseal. Okay, so we're actually on day 9 now of the restoration. I had a look in the diary and we've been on it since a week Tuesday. So yeah, this is 9 days of work on the car. Come across a slight little problem. It's not massive, but it's just one of the things we come across with these types of jobs. This is the heater matrix. So this plastic gets very brittle over time. You know, the coolant's been sat in there for years, and when we're pulling the coolant pipe off, unfortunately, it literally just crumbled in our hands. So the only downside to this is it's like basically a huge job to get it out. You've got to take the dashboard out of the car, so that's a job for another day. I mean, we've taken the dashboard out now and removed this, obviously, because it's here. Ordered a new part up, well, a second-hand used part, so you can see the different colour in the plastics. It's like, obviously, that one's rotting away inside the car, but anyway, that's to go in. That will happen once the car's back together, but we've got it out, we've got the dash out, and that's going to be a job. it's just extra time we didn't really expect. Removal of the dash, refitting that, it's probably a good day and a half's worth of work. So the car is now like 90% prepped in terms of the underside, cleaning off all the rust and prepping the metal for paint, but because obviously we always want to achieve perfection or as close to perfection as we can, there's little areas, so like little crevices, for example inside little joints and around the seams, where it's really hard to get the rust off by using tools basically. So what we've decided to do is use a mobile blaster. We've got a little blaster down here. We have decided to basically prepare the car, because you can see up here now we've actually put a sheet over the top of it. We're masking all around it, we're making a line where we can actually basically build a curtain down from the car and get inside it and then blast all the little intricate corners and seals and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the next stage. That's a little bit of prep time now to do that, and then the next stage is to get the blaster on it, finalise that, finish up, clean up all the rust, and then it's going to be ready for the paint process. I'll just show you in the engine bay quick. You saw the engine bay before where Elliot was cleaning it all up, but now he's actually keyed it all up, Scotch brighted it all, so it's now pretty much prepped. There's a couple of little areas under here that have got some rust on it. Again, this is going to get blasted with the little mobile blaster. But yeah, all in all, pretty straightforward, solid car as we know. It's just lots of time, lots of man hours prepping, and the time is in the prep. You know, that's the key for these type of jobs, just to prevent any rust coming through in the future. So that's what we're doing, that's what we're prepping for now. So we're going to end the video here now, because we're going into a bank holiday weekend and then we need some time to blast this. So this is the end of the video. Next video we're going to show is actually blasting the underside of the car and then the paint process. So that would be great. And then we're going to get into the restoration of the components. So that's it for now. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any comments, please put them below. If you want to see anything in particular with this car, how we do it, what we do, let us know on that. And yeah, please subscribe to our videos.